Hello everyone, Mingalaba from Myanmar. Good morning, I guess, for most of you, and maybe also good afternoon for some of you. It's 3:30 p.m. here in Myanmar. Just to introduce myself, my name is Amir. I am the product manager here at Exo Travel Myanmar. That's what I look like. You can see my face on the screen. So thank you very much for joining my webinar about Myanmar's best kept secrets. This will be my last one of 2018. So yeah, let's get things going. The webinar should last between 30 to 40 minutes. And please do remember to post any questions that you might have throughout the course of the webinar on the questions pane, which you should have on your screen. And at the end of the webinar, I will go through each question individually and answer it for you. And also, if you have any questions about our best kept secrets or anything else to do with Myanmar products after this webinar, then please feel free to drop me an email. On the penultimate slide of the webinar, I have my email address posted there, so you can make a note of that later on. But for now, let's get things going. So what will I be covering during this 30 to 40 minute session? Firstly, I'm going to be looking at the Big Five. So the Big Five in Myanmar are Yangon, Mandalay, Inle Lake, Bagan and Mandalay Beach. Those are the destinations that most first-time visitors to Myanmar will go to, and then maybe add on one or two other destinations if they have the time. So the first thing I'll be looking at is some of our best-kept secrets in the Big Five. Then I'll be looking at some best-kept secret stays. So this will be about those kind of secret retreats which not many people go to, very few people maybe know about, but because of our in-country expertise, we have the knowledge about these places and really like them and would love to share information about them with you. And then I'll be finishing off with just a brief overview of some of our best kept secret destinations. So let's get things going with our Big Five. So as I mentioned, the Big Five are listed here again for you. And let's start things in Yangon, the biggest city in Myanmar. So what is our secret activity here in Yangon? Well, it's a crafts workshop at a social enterprise, which is located not far from the downtown area of the city and close to quite a few of the hotels that we regularly use. Now, this is an EXO exclusive experience. So you won't find this being offered by any other companies here in the country because it was specially created by our product and sustainability teams. Our sustainability team already had a very good relationship with the social enterprise, and as a result of that, we could build on it and create this lovely new product for your clients. What it involves is a 1 to 2 hour handicrafts workshop. It's perfect for travelers of all ages, including families with young children all the way up to elderly people who want to do something a bit hands-on. So for children, there's a different range of activities that they can choose from. Generally, it's focused on painting of papier-mâché items. And obviously, for older clients, we can arrange different types of weaving or also painting, depending on what they're interested in. You can see me in that image there, very attentively trying to put together a multicolored bracelet. It was actually not as difficult as I thought it would be, challenging enough to really make me feel good at the end of it, but also easy enough that I could get it done within the 1 to 2 hour slot and take home a finished product. So that was really cool. And another really cool thing about this activity is that all of the profits go directly to the social enterprise that helps us operate the handicraft workshop. Amazing Grace is the name of that social enterprise, and they provide opportunities for physically and mentally handicapped people, mainly in Yangon, but also in Myanmar in the south of Myanmar. So if you are interested in this activity, then I would encourage you to have a look at our new Make a Difference in Yangon tour, which is up on our website. And within that tour, there is not only this visit to a social enterprise, but following on from the theme of Make a Difference, there's visits to a number of other social enterprises, which we think are not only great to visit for your guests, but also really help to make a positive impact on communities through tourism. Moving up to Mandalay, my secret selection for Mandalay, funnily enough, was the Royal Palace. This is actually Mandalay's largest and most central attraction. Anyone that's been to Mandalay, you will know that you pretty much see this no matter where you're going. But chances are you probably didn't go inside, and that's what is so secret about it. It is seen by everyone. It's the shining light, especially once the sun has set in Mandalay. But not that many tourists go inside, but there's a lot to learn if you do go inside, and those are the secrets that we want to reveal to you. So if we have adults joining this tour, then they can learn about the turbulent last kind of 200 years or so of Mandalay's history from one of our expert guides. But we've also recently created a great new quiz for children up to the age of around 12 years old. So this is a great way to make a visit to the Royal Palace fun for the entire family. The children can learn about the Royal Palace through our specially created quiz, which invites them to look, listen, and interact with the people around in order to answer all the questions. And at the same time, our guide would be explaining things about the history to the parents to make it interesting and fun for everyone. So again, have a look at our new Royal Palace Family Trivia Tour if this is something that you would be interested in. And this is actually part of our brand new range of family-friendly experiences. So if you're working for a company that is selling a lot of tours to families with young children or even teenagers, then please let us know, because we're developing a lot of new activities which make a visit to Myanmar a lot more interactive and fun for families who are here. Moving from Mandalay, the short distance to Bagan, and here I want to talk about a star tortoise conservation center. It's located in Minzon Town Wildlife Sanctuary, which is on the road between Mandalay and Bagan. For me, the road trip between these two popular destinations is the best one to do in Myanmar, and I would highly encourage anyone who has clients that want to do something a bit more experiential, not just always flying from A to B to C, to take the road route from Mandalay to Bagan. There's a number of reasons why I really recommend this. Firstly, you have this great stop along the way. And this stop, again, is not available to all operators here in Myanmar. They only work with a select few operators who have a strong responsible tourism policy. And at EXO, we have that. And that is why the Conservation Center was keen to work with us and our travelers. So we'd love for your guests to come with us and take advantage of that. Another reason why this road trip is great is because the road quality is brilliant. Other parts of the country that maybe cannot be said, but the road is very smooth, the scenery is very nice, and it's a very comfortable ride. And finally, it's only around a 4 to 5 hour trip. Now, between these two, if you're going hotel to hotel. And if you think about it, if you're flying between Mandalay and Bagan, it takes around 3 hours hotel to hotel because of the time you have to be there in advance of the flight, the transfer to the airport, and all that kind of thing. So why not go for the, in my opinion, more enjoyable and, of course, more eco-friendly option of traveling by road between Mandalay and Bagan. So at the Star Tortoise Conservation Center, they have more than 3,000 of these endangered star tortoises, and they're really amazing, cool little things. They have some which have just hatched, which are super cute, and then they also have bigger ones which are just roaming around and are very used to human beings because they're kind of handled every day by the staff at the center. So it's a very fun experience, nice for families, especially with young children, but I loved it as well, and I'm a 30-year-old guy. So, I would say that this is something which you could promote to absolutely anyone. And for clients that are more active, you can take part in an optional guided forest walk along with one of the rangers from the conservation center, and that allows visitors to learn a bit more about the breeding program and how the tortoises are reintroduced into the wild forest nearby. The great thing about this is that contributions from the visits are used to help support the center for things such as feeding the tortoises, hiring guards to safeguard them from poaching, and of course maintaining the breeding area in general. So if you are interested in this and other activities along the way from Mandalay to Bagan, or of course we can do the same in reverse, then have a look at our new Mandalay to Bagan with a view tour, which you can find on our website with full details of what is included. Okay, Inle Lake. So Inle Lake, if you've been there, you know that it's all about boat trips on the lake. But we want to show you how you can explore the lake on a boat without a motor. You know, take a break from the motorboats, which can be quite loud, with a morning or afternoon exploring the peaceful canals of the lake, either by kayak or by traditional wooden canoe. The reason this is something which I would consider to be a secret and something that is not available to everyone that's visiting the lake is just the lack of kayaks on the lake. At EXO, we're very fortunate we have our own kayaks, which we can use. But not everyone else is in that position. So why not take advantage of that and do something a bit active on the lake and get to really experience the local culture. And included in this tour, because of our relationships with local families around the village, we can go on a short walking tour around the floating village, which is a really unique experience. You won't see any other tourists doing that. And it's really fun. You're just bumping into people along the small kind of walkways, and just seeing how people live off the lake. Really unique experience. So there's two ways that you can experience Inle Lake without a motor. Firstly, you can take part in our Inle Lake cultural kayaking tour, or there's also the option of our brand new traditional canoe through floating villages tour. The difference is the kayaking is for more active travelers because, you know, they have to kayak themselves. It's about half an hour each way, so a total of about 1 hour, quite relaxed kayaking, so you don't have to be too fit in order to do that. Or if you want something a bit more relaxed and a bit more of a local, authentic experience, then you can take part in our traditional canoe through floating villages tour. And finally, going to the beach, the fifth of our big five, Nyapali Beach, which is the most famous beach resort destination in Myanmar. Here, we encourage you to visit Mandalay, which is a small coastal fishing village, about a 45-minute boat ride away from Nyapali. Once there, you can do snorkeling, have lunch with a local family with whom we have a really good relationship and a long-standing relationship. And it's just a great way to escape from the beach resorts and the other tourists on Nepalese coast. EXO has exclusive and special access to this village, mainly because of our funding of their community library. So we actually helped to build and set up the community library in 2012. And ever since then, we've been supporting the library, supporting the salaries of the staff, the librarians there, and also providing books, of course, through funds from the EXO Foundation. So that makes it, you know, even more of an authentic experience for guests that are traveling with us. And the nice thing about this one is that part of the tour cost goes towards the library in the village to help contribute to education and community development in this small village, which doesn't really have a great education system or that many opportunities. So, you know, every little helps. And a visit to this village is included in our beach safari at Mandalay tour. Again, available up on our website. If you want to read the full details, you can do so there. Okay, so moving away from activities and onto individual accommodation providers. These are some of our favorite, best kept secret stays. Firstly, a place which looks a bit scary to pronounce, but it is pronounced Yangon. But luckily for you, as long as you can spell it right and you email any of our travel consultants, they will, of course, know exactly what you're talking about. There's not actually much in Yangon for tourists. It's a small town in rural Myanmar, apart from Lethagon Guest House, which is a lovely little lodge perched on the top of this kind of rocky outcrop overlooking a massive valley underneath. It's a 3-star accommodation, you know, nothing fancy, but it's just a 2-hour drive away from Bagan. They have 15 spacious rooms set in stone houses. They're spread over beautifully landscaped gardens. As I mentioned, you have that amazing view over the valley below. and stunning sunsets. They have lovely seating, which is pointing in the perfect direction to see the sunset over the valley every evening that clients are there. So I would recommend staying at least 2 nights here because, well, firstly, it's a very nice place just to spend some time and relax. There's a beautiful swimming pool, a very nice restaurant where you can have meals, and also they organize a bunch of different activities for guests who want to get out a bit to go and explore the surroundings. And what we like about this place is that the funds from your stay help to support their partner Light of Love Private High School. You know, this is a rural village, very little investment in education, unfortunately. So the accommodation is doing what they can to support this high school, which is home to over 100 children in need. Some are orphans with no families to go back to. Others are from poorer families in the region who send their kids here to try and give them, you know, a better chance in life. So, you know, we love to support these kind of businesses in the tourism industry who are trying to make a positive impact through the industry. And of course, all staff are from the local area, which adds a nice touch to the whole experience. Okay, staying in the Bagan region, but moving over to Majikan village, which is even smaller than Yangon. I would say Yangon is more of a town. This is a proper village. It's near Saleh, which is a colonial town about a 1-hour drive from Bagan. And the accommodation that we promote here is called the Tamarind Lake Village Home. It is quite basic. I'd say it's about a 2-star homestay property. Here you get to spend the night in a traditional guest house. So it's not a homestay per se because clients aren't actually sleeping in the home of a local person, but they're sleeping right next door in this guest house, which has been built in the local style. And it's right in the heart of the village. The village is not frequented by tourists. You know, this is not one of those villages where everyone is coming through and taking a few photos and then leaving. It does allow for an authentic and very intimate experience for visitors and guests that are staying in the village. They can walk around to experience the village life and, of course, eat home-cooked meals with families where we've done training on hygiene and food safety, so we know that they're providing food of high standards. As I said, facilities are quite basic here, but everything is provided that, you know, you would expect and that we would always want to provide for our guests. So there's very decent bedding inside all of the homes, and also Western toilets. So the picture that you see below here is the bathroom. It's not connected to the guest house, it's just to the side of it, but there's a Western toilet, flowing water, obviously cold water only, but you probably wouldn't really need hot water in this in the dry area of Myanmar during the peak tourist season anyway. And everything that you need is there. So it's perfect for guests who want to really experience village life, stay in the village, but have those small comforts of home. So this is a community-based tourism enterprise. A donation to the community fund is included in the tour price. All the services are provided directly by the villagers. So, you know, the housekeeping of the guest house, providing the meals and all that kind of thing, which means that money is going directly into the village to help them develop. And EXO actually funded the setup of one of these houses with help from our EXO Foundation. We identified this as a village with potential for tourism. The villagers were interested to have tourists visit, and we thought that why not help them by setting up this small guest house to push them in the right direction. So there's 3 different guest houses, and one of them is supported by us directly. Okay, moving away from Bagan over towards Inle Lake, and in particular to Nyangshui, which is the gateway to Inle Lake. And one of our favorite places to stay here is a little eco lodge, which is a 3-star eco lodge, of course, as the name says, located on the outskirts of town. Niang Shui is a great town just to bicycle around. It's very flat. The traffic's not bad at all, and the roads are good quality. So it's about a 15-minute bike ride from the center of town, or a 5-minute car ride for those that don't want to bike around. They provide a really nice, homely, traditional Intha hospitality in what is essentially a small village. Even though it's on the outskirts of the town, Niang Shui town is very small. So as soon as you're out of it, you're basically in nature and small villages in nature. They only have 5 rooms, so it creates a very intimate, homely atmosphere. The 5 rooms are located in these buildings that you see on the top picture, and they have an amazing restaurant on site. There's no picture of it on this slide, unfortunately, but if you have a look online, you can go on their website and check out their treehouse restaurant. It's a beautiful bamboo structure with seating over 2 different levels, so you get really nice views over the surrounding area. Nice breeze, especially this part of the country is nice and cool, and the food is some of the best in town. So I would highly recommend, even if your guests are not staying at the Eco Lodge, this is a great hidden place to go and have a nice lunch during the day's touring. So this place is perfect for travelers who want a kind of homestay feel. I would say this is kind of, luxury boutique homestay. There's no other homestay opportunities in Niang Shui, so this is the closest that you can get to really feeling part of a local family in Niang Shui. And there really is a true eco lodge. 100% of the energy is created through solar power. They grow seasonal ingredients on site, and these add to the amazing flavors that they produce in their restaurants. And part of the profits are contributed towards healthcare and education for local people in the surrounding villages. So, what a nice touch. Okay, staying in the Inle Lake area, but moving south from Niang Shui to Samkar Lake. Samkar Lake is kind of like the second part of Inle Lake. So if you imagine Inle Lake up north, the big body of water, and then there's a wide canal which winds down into a second big lake, which is called Samkar Lake. And here we have the luxury Inle Sanctuary. It's a 4-star property in Payatang village. And just to mention, Payatang village has no other accommodation. So this is really nice and isolated and secluded. It's a 3-hour boat ride from Niang Shui, which is at the north of Inle Lake. So it's a 3-hour boat ride south, or you can travel 2 hours by car and boat, altogether 2 hours from Loikor Airport to here. On site, they have 6 luxury stilted houses. All of them are same design, made in the same way. They're built using traditional and sustainably sourced hardwood and bamboo. The location is stunning. You can see in the picture at the top, there's not much around apart from the lake and the hills. So it's a really peaceful place just to go and chill out. And all of the balconies in front of the lodges are made in a really clever way because they're all basically private. Even though all the houses are in one line, once you're on one balcony, the people on the other balcony cannot see you and you cannot see them because of the way that they've set up one of the walls. So it's a really nice, really nicely done place. They don't offer one-night stays, so it has to be a minimum 2-night stay, but I would even recommend staying here for 3 nights and really just getting away from everything because they have so many activities that they can organize on site. So visit the local villages, go on biking tours around the local community, go on boat trips. There's 4x4 trips around as well. They have loads of options here, and you can visit the local ethnic groups which live in the surrounding hills. So lots of options here. Nice luxury stilted houses in the middle of the lake. Really unique and special experience away from the tourists of Inle Lake. And this also operates as an eco lodge, which of course we love. It's 100% solar powered. All the food is locally sourced from the local villages around the accommodation, and 10% of the income goes towards community development projects in the nearby village of Payatang. And finally, for the accommodation, moving back to the beach, this time going to Gua. Maybe you've probably never heard of Gua before. So just to let you know where it is, it's in southern Rakhine State. So Rakhine State is also where Nyapali Beach is, but it's further south from Nyapali Beach, and it's a 3-hour drive from Thandaway Airport, which is the gateway to Nyapali Beach. Here is a 3-star eco lodge. Accommodation has been built in traditional Rakhine style. They've built these traditional Rakhine houses, just a few steps away from Myanmar, one of Myanmar's most beautiful stretches of beach, crystal clear water, no other tourists on the beach apart from other guests that are staying at the nature lodge. And it's a great place to just get away from Myanmar, people that want to do the beach, but they want a bit of a peaceful alternative, and they're a bit more adventurous. You know, they don't need to have the luxury 4 or 5-star characteristics of some of the resorts in Myanmar. Arakan Nature Lodge is perfect for them. It is also 100% solar powered. They have some great green water management, and really cool thing, this is the only place that I've seen so far in Myanmar where they have dry composting toilets. So this is where there's no water used to flush the toilet. You do your business, you dump a bit of compost on top, and every day it gets cleaned out and all the material actually goes back into the environment and can be used as fertilizer for the surrounding area. So, you know, it's a really great loop, sustainable loop that they have going on there. But my favorite thing about Arakan Nature Lodge is the construction itself. And again, this is something which I have not seen anywhere else actually in the world. So the construction is fully done by local carpenters, nothing that special there, using recycled wood. Again, not 100% unique, but the really unique thing is that they use no machinery here. They've been building this place since 2011, and it only opened last year. Not because they weren't working hard and they were having delays, but just because while they were working, they were really using traditional techniques, which is not something you see very often anymore, of putting all of the wooden bits together, a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. No machines, just making everything slot in together. So a really unique way of constructing the buildings there. Okay, so that covers the activities and the secret stays. And now I want to go a bit more general, and I want to introduce you to some of Myanmar's best kept secret destinations. So of course, most people will come here and visit at least 4 of the big 5, if not all of the big 5. But if they have a bit more time, or it's a second trip or third trip or even 4th, 5th, 6th trip to Myanmar, and they want to do something a bit different, there we have a lot of options, which are not so well known about, but because of our years of experience in the country, local expertise, we know these secret destinations, not only from what we read online and the research that we do, but of course we've been to these places. We know the best places to stay. We know the best trekking routes. We know the best stretches of beach to go to. So I just want to introduce to you now some of those best kept secret destinations, which can be included in your itineraries to make them a bit different, you know, just to differentiate yourselves from the rest. So starting in somewhere where you might think is, well, again, surprising to call a secret destination. However, I have included Naypyidaw, which is the capital city of Myanmar, because we really believe it has untapped potential for tourism. Although it is the capital city, it is by no means the commercial capital. Commercial capital is still Yangon. The capital only moved from Yangon to Naypyidaw around 10 years ago. And as a result, things are still moving along slowly there in terms of development, because, well, you know, embassies and NGOs and all of those kind of people, they don't really want to move there because, well, Yangon is a more fun place to live. But for tourists, it's a quite bizarre place to visit, which is why I would like to recommend it. In terms of getting there, it's very straightforward. It's about a 1 to 2 hour flight from anywhere from Yangon, Mandalay, Bangkok. Very easy. So why do I think it's a great place to visit? Well, firstly, like I said, it is the capital. It's where the parliament is. So they have lots of accommodation, lots of good, very high quality, 5-star accommodation, but you can get it at very low prices because no tourists are going there. So that's a great selling point, you know, people that want to just splash out on something very fancy, or, well, without actually splashing out. It's one of the most bizarre capital cities in the world. You just have to go there to really experience it. You know, the streets, there's almost more cattle on the streets than cars. And which other capital city in the world can claim that? And one of my favorite crazy things about the city is the 20-lane highway, which they have, which is leading up to the huge parliament building. Apparently, they built the 20-lane highway to allow aeroplanes to land or take off in emergency situations. So you can go drive up there jump off, take a quick photo, and then carry on past the parliament and visit some of the other sites in the city. And a really special thing to do there, which we can help organize, is our Politics in the Parliament tour. And this allows your guests to actually visit the Parliament building, go inside, and have special access to drop in on a Parliament session if they're there at a good time. Of course, we need quite a bit of advance notice for this because we have to contact the local authorities and give them all the required information. But if you do have clients going to Naypyidaw, I would definitely recommend that let us know and we can organize that experience for you. Next, moving to the western part of Myanmar, to Chin State. This is a whole state which borders Bangladesh and India to the west. Getting there, the best way is from Bagan. It's about a 5 to 6 hour drive from Bagan, but it's not just a 5 to 6 hour drive. It's a 5 to 6 hour experience. It's a journey in itself. You're going through wonderful roads with beautiful vistas over the surrounding hills. So it's really a great way to start the journey into Chin State. And once you're in Chin State, what is there to do there? Why visit Chin State? Well, firstly, you have Mount Victoria, which is the 3rd highest peak in Myanmar. You can climb up it. It's a very easy climb. Anyone can do it. Round trip around 5 hours. And the view from the top is absolutely gorgeous. And then there's the trekking through some of the beautiful nature in Chin State. It's a big state. There's a lot of unexplored parts of it. It's very remote. And there's some wonderful trekking routes there. Another very unique thing is the tattoo-faced woman. You might remember from my second slide where I introduced what I'm going to be talking about, there was a picture of a woman's face, and she was actually one of these tattoo-faced women, which are unique to Chin State. And apparently they have these tattoos on their faces from back in the day when they used to tattoo their faces. People don't know exactly why, but either to protect them from being stolen by other tribes, or to, you know, to make them look less attractive so people would not take them away, or to just show which tribe they belong to. So it's really interesting to go and see the old women. The younger women don't do it anymore, but who still have these tattoo faces. And the town of Mindat in itself is a reason to go to Chin State. It's beautifully perched on a mountain ridge and a great point to kind of start any trekking routes or a visit to Mount Victoria. So if that sounds exciting to you, then I would definitely recommend checking out our 5-day, 4-night trekking remote Chin State tour. This was put together by our in-house Exo Adventure team. Of course, they love trekking and all things adventure. So they went there, they explored the area, found the best trekking routes, identified villages where our guests could stay, and then put together this great program, which I would definitely encourage you to have a look at. Then moving east towards the border with Thailand to another trekking destination, Chang Dong. I know the name doesn't look like it should be pronounced like that. It's got 2 different spellings, but it's pronounced Chang Dong. And this is an isolated town in the heart of the infamous Golden Triangle in eastern Shan State. It's accessible by flight, direct flights from Yangon and Heho, which is the airport for Inle Lake. So, you know, very easy to go to. And really the #1 reason to go here is the trekking. There's beautiful trekking, which is really easy just to get into. There's only day treks from the town available because overnight stays in the villages are not allowed, but that's not really a problem because in town you have some really nice restaurants, some decent hotels. So it's a very comfortable place to use as a base. There's easy treks ranging up to more challenging and more difficult treks. So we can organize something for anyone. Another great reason to go there is because of the wide range of local tribes and ethnic groups in the area. So during these treks, you very quickly get out of town and you go into these local villages and you can learn about the local culture, see beautiful nature all at once. And Lomwe Hill Station is also a great place. One of the British hill stations which were built during the colonial period. It's a very nice place. 1 hour from Changtong, a great place to go for half a day or so. I would recommend spending 3-4 days here to allow 2 days of trekking and then a last day of relaxing and visiting the hill station and taking in a bit more of the local culture. And if you want to know more about the details of, you know, exactly where in this area we can arrange treks to, then I would encourage you to check out our 10-day, 9-night Trekking with the Tribes of Myanmar tour. So this is a trekking tour throughout Myanmar, but actually 4 nights are spent in Chaintong. And that really shows how amazing the trekking is in Chaintong. The fact that we've devoted 40% of our Myanmar trekking tour to trekking around Chaintong. Then moving on to another kind of hill station set up in the natural green areas of Karen State. Pandaungji is a small Christian village. It's located 6 hours away from Yangon. If you look at the map there, you can see it's basically heading directly north out of Yangon along a very good road up into Pandaungji. So it's about 5 hours to Taungoo, which is a former capital of Myanmar, and then 1 hour up a hill to Pandaungji. The unique thing here is, their focus on developing responsible tourism. The local management of tourism is really interesting here. They've set up these small family-run B&B accommodations. It's something that you don't see anywhere else in the country. They're done really nicely. You get a really nice local feel, but at the same time, you're in a kind of guest house. So you have your own space and all that kind of thing. Pandaungji is much more about short walks than long walks, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. There's a lot of short walks out of town for amazing views. Actually, I've been here more than 3 years now, and I would still say that my favorite sunset throughout that period was on one of these hills, which was about a half an hour to 1 hour walk out of the main part of town. So I definitely recommend some of those walks. The local culture is really interesting. As I said, it's a Christian village, so on Sunday, everyone's going to church. It's a nice contrast to the other places where most tourists visit in Myanmar, which is a majority Buddhist country. Here, less pagodas, more churches. It's a nice change. And as I said, this is a former British hill station, so obviously the Brits love their tea. So there is, of course, a century-old tea factory, which is still operating, and that's definitely something that is worth including in the itinerary. And in general, it's just a nice place to spend a bit of time, relax, eat some food, go on a few short walks, and just walk around and allow the local people to be fascinated by you, because not many foreign visitors go there. So they're really keen to meet foreigners and just, find out where you're from and all that kind of thing. It's a really fun place to go. Then moving over to the beach. This is my penultimate destination, Dawei. Dawei, as you can see from the map on the right, is down in the southern part of Myanmar in the Peninthari division. Here we have long, stunning beaches with very little tourism development or infrastructure. So that does mean getting out to the beaches is maybe not the easiest thing in the world. Nyapali, very easy. Dawei, easy enough, but not as easy. So to get to Dawei town, it's a direct flight from either Yangon or Koh Tao, which is further south, or you can do an 8-hour drive from Molamyang. Once you arrive in Dawei town, it's a 1 to 2 hour trip, either by motorbike taxi or 4-wheel drive to get out to these pristine beaches. Once you're at the pristine beaches, you're in heaven, pretty much. There's hardly any tourists around, crystal clear water, very rustic accommodation. It's 1 to 2 star here, pretty basic, nothing luxury here. So keep that in mind in terms of, so you know who you're selling this to. But it's a lot more affordable than the Mergui Archipelago. The Mergui Archipelago has more of an emphasis on hidden beaches, hidden islands, but luxury stays. Here we have hidden beaches, but more basic, so a lot more affordable. And if you want to know more about this destination, then you can have a look at our 4-day, 3-night Dawei and Undiscovered Paradise tour. Okay, moving on to my final destination and my final slide. I'm sorry, I've gone slightly over the 40 minutes that I promised I would keep within, but we're nearly done here. Inle Lake. So Inle Lake is in the north of Myanmar, in Kachin State, which is the northernmost state of the country. And it's also the biggest lake in Myanmar. Inle Lake, which is the more famous one, is the second biggest lake. This is the biggest lake, but it's very much unexplored by tourists. One of the reasons for that is getting there is not as easy as it might be to get to Inle Lake, for example. The way to get there is to fly from Mandalay to the town of Nichina, which is in Kachin State. So that's the one that you see in the map on the top right. That's point A. And then from Myitkyina, it's a 5-hour drive to Indoji Lake. But once you're in Indoji Lake, you're in a watery heaven. There's kayaking, trekking, cycling, boat trips on the lake, bird watching, all the kind of stuff which you can also do on Inle Lake. But here, you're doing it with no one else around, and it's a lot more of an intimate and local experience. When it comes to the bird watching and the wildlife, it's more abundant than it is on Inle Lake because of a lack of development. So there's a lot more birds around and wildlife. You can see elephants around the lake. And if you wake up really early, you can go and see and listen to the gibbons in the forest. And there's a lot of untouched communities living by the lake, which you can visit. So we run our tours here in cooperation with a local NGO who has a good relationship with the local communities. So we can go and visit them and learn from them, and they can learn about other cultures as well. So it's very much a mutually beneficial experience. There's also a really cool pagoda, which is in the middle of the lake. It's basically floating. It's almost as if it rose out of the lake one day. It's called Shwemitsu Pagoda. And there's nice rustic village accommodation. The accommodation here, again, is very basic. Not a reason to come here for a luxury stay like you might do on Inle Lake. Here, it's basic village accommodation, but the real attraction is in the amazing soft adventure and wildlife activities that you can do. So that is it from me. Thank you very much for listening in to my webinar about Myanmar's best kept secrets. We would love to share more with you and come and have you come and actually visit them yourselves. So as I mentioned earlier, here you can see my email address at the bottom of the slide. It's amir@exotravel.com. Please feel free to drop me a line if you have any questions about our best kept secrets or just about Myanmar products in general. There's also a photo here of the entire product team. There's 4 of us. We're wearing Christmas hats. Christmas is on its way. So we want to wish you in advance happy holidays. And just to let you know that, as I said, this is my last webinar of 2018, but Exo Travel does have another webinar this year. And that is by Trevor, who's our product manager in Cambodia. And he will be talking about the country's up-and-coming destinations on Friday, the 14th of December. Thank you very much for listening in. Look forward to seeing you at the next one.